both AEW and WWE are setting up for long-term shows. I know AEW has a pay-per-view redemption at the end of July. I know WWE has Saturday night's main event in the home of the 2026 NBA champion New York Knicks in July. But both companies are setting up for SummerSlam and All In. Both are presenting massive matches for these massive shows.
Yes, we already have 3 confirmed matches for SummerSlam. It's going to be Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Obafemi is seemingly giving up his title shot that he won in the King of the Ring tournament to face Brock Lesnar in Hell in a Cell. And we got Liv Morgan facing Io Sky for I get so confused with these 2 titles. I think it's the Women's World Championship.
For the Women's World Championship. Rhea Ripley as the Women's Championship for now. Though, to me, Io picked Liv because Rhea Ripley is not healthy, and they're going to have to potentially strip Rhea the Women's Championship. That's what I got out of it. Because otherwise, running Io versus Liv again makes no sense.
Which, from what I heard, Sami Zayn is unfortunately not going to have the title for long. From what I heard, he's going to drop it to Brock Lesnar at that Sunday night's main event show at Madison Square Garden.
Well, no, that's a Saturday. The Sunday main event is in Atlanta. That's Labor Day weekend. That's the week of All Out. Is that the week of All Out? Does AEW have it there on Labor Day this weekend?
I think so. AEW hasn't announced anything with All Out yet. So I don't know where it's going to be or when it's going to be.
Well, the rumor is that Cody Rhodes defeats Jey Uso tomorrow night on SmackDown, and they're running Cody versus Sammy back on Raw for the title in Chicago, which, as we know right now, is the home of one Phil Brooks. What I would like to happen, let's put it this way, what I hope doesn't happen is they hotshot the belt back to Cody and they do Cody versus Punk for the title. Because I don't think it needs the title. I think you could very easily have CM Punk cost Cody Rhodes the Undisputed Championship. Sami Zayn can move on. I know it may sound crazy, but Sami Zayn and Johnny Gargano could be a SummerSlam match for the Undisputed WWE Championship. And you could have Punk and Cody in a solo match. Either way, you're going to have Punk and Cody, Roman and Seth in the final match, potentially for both of them going one-on-one, and Obafemi Brock Lesnar inside Hell in a Cell. That, to me, is making up for you screwing Minneapolis out of WrestleMania 41.
I'm on the flip side, though. I am loving what is happening with AEW. My God, Forbidden Door, that was one of the greatest pay-per-views I have ever seen.
You guys say that about every single, I swear, every single AEW pay-per-view, every single AEW fan says, that was the greatest pay-per-view ever. They can't all be the greatest pay-per-view you've ever seen.
No, I don't do that. I'm not that type of fan.
Dave Meltzer does, by the way. If you pay attention to Dave, every single show, he has said Dynamite was the best Dynamite he's ever seen for the past 2 months. Every single week.
Well, next week's episode of Dynamite, which is also known as Beach Break, is going to be freaking nuts because it's Kenny Omega versus MJF for the World Championship, and the stipulation is in place that if Kenny loses, he can never challenge for the title again.
So they're doing the Cody Rhodes thing.
And what happened with Hangman, which I
think
they
did it with Hangman too? When did they do it with Hangman?
At Revolution earlier this year.
Oh, they did it. Wait, that Texas Death Match against MJF, that was the stipulation to it?
Yes, it was.
So why? Okay. I understand the stipulation. I'm like, as long as this guy is champion, you can't challenge for the title. But then never challenging for the title ever again handicaps you.
I love it. But not only that, we've got Tommaso Ciampa versus Chris Jericho going down next week, which that feud has been really good. We got freaking Kyle Fletcher against Konosuke Takeshita for the International Championship, which I thought that match was going to happen at Redemption. I thought Kenny Omega versus MJF was going to happen at Redemption. So now I'm all confused. The main event at All In may end up being a freaking triple threat match of MJF versus Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. AEW's got me so confused, but in the best way possible. I wasn't even able to watch Dynamite last night because I was watching USA versus Bosnia in the World Cup. You better believe I'm going to go back and watch it because from everything I heard, it was fantastic. And for sure, I'm watching next week's episode. There is no way I'm missing that episode. Which I can't say that for SmackDown. One, because it was pre-taped, so I can just go on social media and look at what happened. So that kind of takes the steam out of it for me. But SmackDown, I don't really. I watch it, but I don't really. There's not really that one story that I'm like, oh my God, I got to see that.
I agree. I actually agree. Now, SmackDown may change when it goes back to 2 hours. SmackDown should never be 3 hours. I have been on that forever. 3-hour wrestling shows do not work, in my opinion, anymore for any company unless you're running a big pay-per-view or a big PLE. It's just too much television. I actually think Raw at 2.5 hours is like the perfect sort of mix of like too short versus too long. So I'm hoping that with an hour less, they can actually get some focus and there's less filler there on SmackDown. But if Sami Zayn does lose the Undisputed Championship on Raw in Chicago, then they absolutely hot-shotted it just for the Saudi Arabia crowd, which is not the right decision. And let me also address this about Oba Femi and King of the Ring. I get why they did it, because you want Oba to look strong, and they were going to get to Oba Brock Lesnar anyway. But when I really started to think about it, couldn't you have just had Brock Lesnar interfere in the first Fatal 4-Way and not let Oba Femi get pinned and let Seth Rollins go on to face? And I think they might have been in the same Fatal 4-Way, but maybe you change up the participants. And to me, you make Jay versus Seth Rollins be the final, and Seth Rollins can then beat Jey Uso to get his last match with the tribal chief out of the table, Jey Uso's cousin, Roman Reigns. To me, that would have made a lot more sense. And I get it. The reason why you put the King of the Ring on Oba is so it's his own achievement. He looks strong. I get it. I just think logically speaking, it would have made more sense to have Seth Rollins win the King of the Ring, something he's never done.
Yes. I want Sammy to have a long title reign. I've loved this character with Sammy of the last real good guy, and my ride or die fans, which I believe I consider myself to be one of them.
And the thing, there's so many things you could do with Sammy. And I'll say this, if you get the title off Trick, the U.S. Championship, who's not to say they could run this back as a world title feud?
Yes.
Sammy and Trick.
I feel like at some point you got to do the feud between Sammy and Jay for the title, given their
that was my original thought, was Brock was going to screw Oba out of the final. Jay was going to win King of the Ring. I did predict Sammy was going to win the Undisputed Championship. I did call that. I didn't know. I said, I don't know how it was going to happen, but I thought Sammy was going to walk on the Night of Champions and face Jey Uso at SummerSlam for the WWE Championship. Now I think they're going to do Jey Uso versus LA Knight to sort of conclude that feud. They have the problem is Roman Reigns only has so much time, and there's so many feuds you could do with Roman. Seth is one of them. Oba is one of them. I still think LA Knight and Roman need to run it back one more time. LA Knight's been talking so much shit about Roman that Roman needs to prove that he can beat LA Knight on his own, which that is the difference between this Roman Reigns and the heel Roman Reigns. Is Roman Reigns has not had any interference in any of his matches since he came back. And the story that they are going to tell here is Roman Reigns has never defeated Seth Rollins in a one-on-one match for the World Championship.
Yeah, because I remember when during their match at the Royal Rumble.
I was just about to bring that up. Royal Rumble 2022, it ended in disqualification. we never got that rematch that we thought was going to happen. We thought maybe it was going to happen at WrestleMania that year.
Yep. And I loved that feud, especially because if you remember at the start of that match, how did Seth do his entrance? Under the shield. Yes.
Here's for SummerSlam, I would not do it again. I've been thinking about it. I think it would just feel too much like a rehash, like the Rumble match. I think you got to make this thing separate. You don't have to make it about the Shield. I think you can simply make this match about the fact that Roman's never beat Seth, yes, but this is about Seth Rollins as a babyface, Roman Reigns as a babyface, and Seth Rollins never losing that World Heavyweight Championship that he had to give up because the Vision attacked him. And now that he's got the Vision behind him, which was, I thought, one of the best one-on-one steel cage matches I've seen in a while, by the way, because they did not try to do the chicken heel shit with Braun Breaker where he immediately tried to escape the cage. It was a real physical, dirty fight that ended by pinfall that would make Jesse Ventura very proud because we all know he doesn't like escaping by the cage.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't like about that match is like Seth kicking out of the spear basically every damn time. I did not like that.
Well, the second one, I thought it was it. I thought Breaker was going to win. And then, well, if you don't like that, then I would argue you also should not like, and I didn't love it either, Breaker kicking out of when they did the Buckle Bomb Pedigree Stomp. Breaker kicks out, and then they did the final stomp. I didn't like the first kick out.
It was a little weird, the amount of finishers that were kicked out of.
Well, I like the fact that they made it very clear this is a steel cage match, but it doesn't mean that we're escaping. I don't think I've ever recalled WWE doing that. Because again, usually it's the chicken heel trying to escape the cage. That was not the case in this match.
Yeah. So I think both cards are going to be really good. I would like to see AEW not do Wembley next year. You know, they did really well when they ran All In at the Rangers Stadium in Texas last year. I understand why they went back to Wembley this year, but maybe next year do it somewhere else. Do it in LA, New Orleans, Minnesota. I don't know.
Maybe like a Boston, like a Fenway Park or a Yankee Stadium, somewhere like a baseball stadium where it's outside in the summer. Because originally, like I thought Double or Nothing used to be their WrestleMania. Then it was sort of All Out. Now I think for sure All In is going to be their version of WrestleMania.
Oh, for 100%. 100% it is.
Well, what'll be interesting is if Tony decides to run something next April in the States, maybe even in New Orleans, when WWE goes to Saudi.
I think Tony, if he really wants to stick it to WWE, he should run some type of show or something the same weekend as WrestleMania. He should do it.
I mean, again, if you want to claim competition, do so. But, Josh, you remember when I said going into WrestleMania that WrestleMania sort of felt like a SummerSlam card and that SummerSlam was going to feel more like WrestleMania? I feel that. Like, this card to me does feel like a WrestleMania card. This feels more of a WrestleMania card than WrestleMania did.
Night of Champions kind of felt more like WrestleMania than WrestleMania did.
Well, Clash in Italy, I said Clash in Italy was a better card than WrestleMania. It just was.
Yeah.
Now, was the execution not great on some of them? Sure. Going into it, those were 3 WrestleMania main events.